Hello again, it's Atlas's turn for tangents. I'm not going to include the V Premium stuff about the Grade 3 heals, as that is a Nexus at Night podcast episode all its own. As well, Matt and I are kind of going at it when it comes to what the reprint sets mean and how screwed premium format really is. So just stay tuned for that, and let's jump into some overdress reveals for the roundup. Starting off, we have the elephant that looks like Caparaja from Pokemon, and the ferret that looks like Murr from Impractical Jokers. The elephant is a card that looks obtuse as hell for just some soul charge. Like, you gotta have three things in front of it, and it's gotta attack from the back row. But so far, Stoicheia has no way to soul charge literally at all, outside of, I think, the grade 1 when you ride on top of it. During the ride line, if you get an order, it goes into Soul. That's literally it. For Magnolia, at least. I don't see this being an auto 4 of necessarily, but running enough copies means that you can then just use the Soul for stuff like your Grade 2's Power Boost, or Knight of Friendship Cyrus for the free calls off the top of deck. But you can also use it with Bilbar, the ferret. The ferret essentially just replaces itself, so it dies, check top 3, call something. But rather than plussing, you can't move the thing the turn you call it, but it also allows you to pick from the top 3 rather than just the top card. So it's more freedom for less freedom, if that makes any sense. Essentially, that just makes this card a placeholder for the cards you really want in the deck. I'm not a huge fan of it. But here's the thing. Aside from glow nipples, most of your rear guards are just warm bodies that occasionally get big, either by their own effects, by the Mantis, or by Magnolia. This doesn't really earn its spot in that deck. What it does earn, ironically, is another way to fill up your drop zone for Zorga, aside from Hendrina. This can get out of the way, call a new thing, and then also set your drop zone up for Alchemagic. All in all, they're okay, but not amazing, but they're needed, you know what I mean? Root Beer covered all the whale stuff, so skipping that. We're moving on to Thumbelina for Orphist. It's one of the first Orphist cards that actually makes use of the tokens, rather than just calling them. With her still adding 15k to the token before killing off both her and the thing itself for a draw, it allows you to put more pressure on the opponent before replacing herself in your hand. Tokens come pretty easy in Orphis, so this is a good start to a trend I knew was coming, and that's using your tokens as costs for skills. You also have Alvidurd, a grade 2 that gets big if you're in Abyssal Dark Knight, so it hits 15k. But it can also 1-for-1 a token, so pop a token, pop a card on the opponent's board. Again, this may seem like a small thing right now, but one card goes a long way in this kind of early stage of the game. Both were needed effects. Then we have Mabel from Gravity Falls, who gives your Bruce triple drive if you're in Final Rush. At the downside of only being a 7k booster, 20k attacks aren't really good numbers-wise, but you're getting a free card for a counterblast, which Bruce doesn't use much of anyway. It's very nice. You also have Leonard, who attacks a whole column for 15k if you're in Rush for free. By the way, there's no Soul Blast or anything needed. You just go for it. If he hits, even better, because you get to Soul Charge and call something out to an empty circle. Now the Pale Moon is starting to show for Bruce, where before it was more Barrow Magnus's thing. I like this. You can pull out a multi-attack for basically free, although you'll likely need to do something like use Proto Bulb Dragon to suck the other guy into Soul. Otherwise this won't work, because it only calls to empty circles. But still, nice. We got another Stoicheia unit that lets you Soul Blast 2 to look at top 2 and call something, and discard the other card. Likely you'll be using this in Zorga rather than Magnolia, but who's to say if we don't get a better Soul Engine that it doesn't earn more of a spot. Orphis got a Snake. On call lets you get a free world card from your top 3. No cost, nothing else. Helps the deck run smoother. And speaking of, Moonlight to be eaten calls a token on play, it's an order, and then becomes the Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight afterward. So more consistency, always good. Eugene finally got some love with Brachio, who can either rest itself to kill something, or stands himself if the opponent's board has one or less rear guards. This is good in Eugene. He needed more impactful rearguards, because his effect is cool, but not calling anything of note is like, okay, whatever. So this is a good start where he becomes an attacker and gets 5k. Keys on Rage isn't amazing. He's a hefty cost for a focused retire, and by focused I mean it's just one thing. But it doesn't choose by the effect, it's just something on the other side. So take that, Trickstar, you can finally target it. It'll likely get better as we get more units in the game that essentially have resist. Once again, Cater gets the KO with Rafelsos, who gets boost if you're Persona-ridden. No Shadow Dragon needed, you can just boost now. Hope it's fun, you Legolas-looking dork! He also stands himself if you boost or stand something in front of it, so that Bastion effect leads to an even wackier grade 3 turn. Great. Sublime Will is an okay order. There's a 20k shield if you have 3 or more grade 3 units, counting your guard circle, by the way. But it takes some setup to do, and by that I mean the deck just plays itself. Not sure where people will land on this one. It being a grade 3 order means it will set off Bastion's effect, though, so that's something. Advise in the comments, I'm not entirely sure. Penultimately, in the video, we have Fleet Eater, who is basically God-eating zombie shark number 2, and overcoming natural death. That's not a thing that's happening with Fleet Eater, by the way. That's the name of the order. Fleet Eater gets 5k and a Battledore skill, and for those newer players, Battledore means that when it attacks, the opponent has to guard with 2 or more cards at the same time. So, yay, vocabulary. If you Alchemagic that turn, Fleet Eater gets the 5k and the Battledore still, which is good. Zorga needed some oomph. A lot of your stuff was just calling a board and having it be a board with not much else. Outside of Grief, Despair, and Rejection, there's not a lot of pressure coming from Ocean Man, so this was a definitely needed addition. Overcoming Natural Death, on the other hand, lets you recycle order cards from the drop zone, which was needed, though you likely won't play this at more than 1 or 2, as you can only play 1 order card per turn by the rules of the game outside of Alchemagic, which is why Alchemagic exists. So this just exists to like elongate your tempo, where you start getting near the end of the game and you've used most of the orders in your deck. This can at least let you get them back to hand. Lastly, we have Urhula, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who lets you normally move units to the side rather than just up and down, and gives the units in front of it resist. This seems like a small thing, once again, but Magnolia is very susceptible to control, and being able to maneuver stuff out from behind your Vanguard so you can then move it up is nice. Like, let's say you have glow nipples behind Vanguard, and then you want to move it to the side and then up so it can be an interceptor for whatever reason. But protecting this from prison effects, even nicer. That's pretty much all for the reveals. I think most of the stuff we got this week was real solid, and bodes well both for the future of this set and for future sets after that. For Standard, at least. Premium, stay tuned. As usual, drop a like, subscribe, give us a listen on your podcast app of choice, tell a friend, and I'll see you next time.